Alright, we are back for another Cities with Sigmar painting tutorial, and today we are doing Hallowheart. The description of Hallowheart that they gave on the community site doesn't really make sense to me. It says pale blue and white cloth offset with warm brass armor. Shield matches the primary color scheme. Red leather echoes the red of the emblem. Well, I'm here to let you know that there is no pale blue on this model at all. There is some warm brass on the model, none on the shield, and there's no red leather on the model. So I'm just going to follow the picture that they have of the shield on the website, obviously as close as possible with contrast paint, and that's what I'm going to do. But the actual description may get you different results. But regardless, we're going to start with Achillean green, and that's going to be our main shield color. Get my brush a little bit wet. And then just come in here and put this on. As you can see, Achillean green is more blue, to be honest, at least in my eyes. So that's why we are using it. Similar to Croxagore scales that we used on the Vindicarum shield. That one is much more green, though. These two colors are basically like if you lean one green and one blue, you get Achillean green and Croxagore scales. So I'm just going around the filigree here. We are going to be using the dark metal, broadsword silver, for the filigree on this shield. So it's not as big of a deal because it'll cover over any mistakes we make, but I still try to be as careful as possible. One, just because it will show through a tiny bit, and so always better to not have it show through at all. But two, it's just good to be in the practice of being neat with your contrast paint. It can flow all over the place, get places where it doesn't belong, so it's good to have practice keeping it where it belongs. So I will let this dry, and then we will come back and do the middle diamond, I suppose. Alright, we're back and the blue is mostly dry. Now we're going to move on to Apothecary White. Give it a good shake. And then we're just going to put this on the middle diamond here. Very lightly. Just to give it kind of a hint of color. We want it to be white, but we don't want it to just be the primer color. There we go. That will do. I'm not sure if you even can tell the difference on camera, but thin layer of Apothecary White across there. Now we're going to go on to Broadsword Silver, and this is going to be for the filigree, as I mentioned. Get some of this out on a palette. And then just being very careful and go all over this. And then we're going to do some slightly different weathering on this part just to mix it up. I feel like a lot of these, a lot of the videos are just painting broadsword silver on the filigree and painting the rivets and calling it a day. So today we're going to do just a little bit different. Put a little bit of rust around the bolts and stuff with a color that we so far have not used in this series. So I'll finish this up, and then I will come back, and actually, I'm just going to paint the rivets off camera. I've done it in every other video. It's nothing exciting. I'm just going to take polished silver and dot the rivets and the screws here. And then once that is all dry, I will come back and we'll do some weathering. Alright, we're back. And now we're going to do a little bit of weathering. Like I said, we're going to start with Gryph-hound Orange. This is the color I talked about that we haven't used yet in this series. And I'm just going to dot this around the rivets. Not going to use a ton of it, but just to make it look like there's some rust staining or some leftover rust in general around the rivets. I'm going to do that up here on the metal as well. There we go. And some of the filigree on some shields have a little bit of damage to them. So I would do it in those little cracks if there were any on the shield. There aren't, so I'm not going to, obviously. But I would if it was one of those shields. So then I'm going to come in with some Agrax Earthshade and just do this over all of the orange that we just did, just to tone it down a little bit and add a little bit more depth around these rivets. And so we still get the orange peeking out, but we also get this kind of dark ring from the Agrax. And then the final step is going to be, well, the final step before the transfer, obviously, but the final step is going to be to use some Null Oil. And I'm just going to do this all over the blue. Just darken it down a little bit. And really pop out that wood grain that is so prevalent on these shields. And then the only thing that will be left to do is to put the transfer on. So right about now, you should be seeing the finished product with the transfer on and everything nice and dry. And hopefully you like it. If you enjoyed the video, feel free to hit the like button. If you want to see more videos, please feel free to subscribe to the channel, and I will see you on the next one.